Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Virtual Roadshow, Selling Luxury Travel, and also, of course, Insider Travel Report. And we're here today to talk luxury expedition cruises. And, this is a category that has grown incredibly, especially really during the pandemic. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of new players, and a lot of new ships. And so we want to try to get our hands around it. We do this every year because it's just a category of cruising that has become very popular. So we're going to get right to it. And as I said, in the last 5 years, there's a new slate of luxury expedition ships that has come to really dominate the market. These ships combine the comforts of a luxury cruise ship with an expedition cruise experience, and both in polar cruises and in other regions of the world. This panel that you're looking at now will I'll examine how this new category has evolved and where it's heading in the future. And so let's introduce our panelists, and many of you may know all three of them by now. I certainly do. First off, and I'll just ask you to raise your hand so that it's Kris Endreson, Head of Sales of North America for Aurora Expeditions. Hey, Kris, how are you doing?
Doing great, James. Thank you. Great to be here today.
And then we have from HX Expeditions, Michael Weldon, Director, National Accounts, National Key and Strategic Accounts. Hey, Michael, how are you doing?
Wonderful, James. Thanks. And hello to both Kelly and Kris.
And we finally have Kelly Predmesky, who's Director of National Accounts for Swan Hellenic. Hey, Kelly, how are you doing?
Hi, James. It's great to be here again.
Okay, let's get right to it. And let's can each of you in turn describe your expedition cruise line and what it offers? And we're going to start with you, Kris, if you could.
Sure. So Aurora Expeditions may not be well known to everyone yet. However, we're making a big play in the North America market. We've been doing expedition voyages for over 33 years. We're based in Australia, and we were actually founded by a notorious Australian adventurer, Greg Mortimer. So we were really built by an adventurer for adventurers. And what Aurora Expedition does is, to your point exactly, James, we offer, just an amazing onboard experience with three gorgeous ships. In fact, our newest ship, our third ship, is coming out at the end of this year. We have a fleet of very new purpose-built ships just for the polar regions. Mm-hmm. And so what Aurora Expedition, where we really differentiate are our small ships. We like to say small ships, big adventures. Our ships are quite intimate in that we'll never exceed 130 guests to the polar regions. And so that affords us a lot of opportunities to really offer a very immersive and active adventure experience where our guests can go off the ship 2, maybe even 3 times a day. We can have everybody off the ship at the same time within 25 minutes. So we're really offering that very immersive adventure expedition experience, while at the same time offering an absolutely fabulous onboard experience with ships that are beautifully appointed, with heated floors in the bathrooms, just to give you an idea, exceptional service and exceptional food all at the same time. So, that's really who we are. And then something else that really makes us a little bit different is the fact that we're really big into responsible travel. And I know my counterparts here are as well. And Aurora has just a little bit of a different certification and sort of, badge, if you will, with our B Corp certification, where we're only one of 8,000 companies globally that has this certification, where sustainability and being responsible with how we approach everything we do from the core of our business and beyond is really threaded, through everything we do with that certification. And we're the only company, we're the only one of 2 companies in travel that have this certification, and the only one in water. So everything we do is really rooted around giving back, and making sure that all of what we do is really purposely crafted for our guests to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. When I can't imagine an expedition without heated bathroom floors.
Right?
I mean, life itself would be impossible.
Talk about luxury, right?
Let's turn to you, Michael, at HX. Talk a little bit about HX.
Yeah, absolutely, James. So we're often known as, and I tell people this all the time, we're a 130-year-old startup. So we're probably the oldest company on the screen here. We've been around a while, and some great news. We split away from our former sister company, Hurtigruten, and so we're now two totally separate business entities, with no relationship to each other than our former founding back in the 1800s. We have five beautiful ships. To Chris's point, they're all specifically designed for polar regions and for ice class rated ships for cruising. And it's a unique proposition because we like to think of our ships as very diverse. We have two that are brand new, and well, let me back up. They're new in the sense of COVID because they came out right during COVID, so they sat for a
I
couple
know I was
years.
on one of them. I
Yeah,
was on with them
yeah.
the night. Yeah.
So we have two newer ships, I should say, and then two that have just been totally refurbished as of this month. And then we have our smallest ship, our 90 passenger ship in Galapagos Islands, and that's an incredible cruise. But with our ships, they're strategically designed for the space that we want. In that we have two in that 490 passenger range, and then two in the 200 passenger range. And we call them that it's the perfect balance, so to speak. We have that trifecta going on where it's a combination of adventure, of comfort, and sustainability. And it's really most companies can probably get one or two of those, but not all three of them. So when you're talking about a ship of a little bit larger ship in that 300 400 passenger range, it affords us to have three different dining rooms, a lot more amenities on board. So it's a little more comfort going on, a little more leisurely activities, because when you're doing 20, 30, 40-day adventures, which a lot of us do in this space, you want to have that when you're doing that, because that's one of the things. Some of the ships not of that size are going to be a little bit limited in doing some of that. But we have incredible food, wonderful accommodations. We have really five different accommodations. We have an incredible array of suites on board. So for any of those passengers that are looking for that luxurious experience, and we like to, I don't like to use the L word specifically, James, because all three of us on here, we're going to have a different definition of what luxury is. We like to think of luxury as experiential luxury because all three of us do these experiential type of cruises that are just second to none when it comes to the cruise world. So that's how I define it. And that's how we define our company, is that we're in that true expedition space. And there's only a handful of us. My two counterparts here are part of that are in that true expedition space. And so advisors have to look at all of this going forward when they're looking at what they want to put on their clients. But we have an incredible array of cruises, 12 different destinations that we travel to, both warm and cold waters. And so we're like I said, it's the perfect balance and on a beautiful brand new ship.
Absolutely. And now I don't have to say the word Hurtigruten anymore.
Nope, just HX.
Although I was getting good at it too. So
Yeah.
and I have been on your sister company last year up in Norway. It's a marvelous
Yes, they
podcast.
said you were there.
Yeah,
So
so I
yeah.
enjoyed that. Kelly, let's turn to you, Swan Hellenic, and you have a bit of historic legacy too with your brand.
We do, James. Thank you. The name Swan Hellenic actually goes back 70 years. It was started by the Swan family and was a very iconic British expedition company. And always the Swan Hellenic name has been associated with the true exploration of a destination, incredible enrichment and learning opportunities. I mean, dating back to 1954, the original Swan Hellenic partnered with academics and scholars from Oxford and Cambridge to bring on incredible intellectuals to provide amazing lectures while we were sailing through the frontier of exploration, the Greek islands. Imagine.
Huh.
So that's kind of the origin story. But we are a whole new Swan Hellenic today. If you know Swan Hellenic, if you've been an advisor for a while, you probably know our name, but you need to erase whatever that image is from your mind, because we are a whole new Swan Hellenic today, staying true to what that name has always stood for, but with a whole new fleet of brand new purpose-built expedition vessels. So, you know, the way I like to describe Swan Hellenic is that we really marry the adventure of a true down and dirty expedition with five-star service and accommodations, but it is completely unpretentious luxury. So when I say down and dirty expedition, we're talking about some of the newest ships out there with 152 guests and 192 guests max. The Vega is even a PC-5 polar class vessel, which is a pretty serious piece of expedition hardware. Our expedition teams that we're putting together are top notch. You know, our head corporate expedition leader, AJ, he's one of the 12th Brit in history to solo ski to the North and South Poles, and he's in charge of curating the expedition teams that you'll be sailing with, and also developing an incredible citizen science program. So this past season in Antarctica, for example, our guests were able to sign up to go out in a citizen science zodiac with a scientist to actually collect data and research while they were in Antarctica, which is really the highest level of immersion that exists to help to actually write the story. The experts that we're bringing on board just take it to the next level. You know, this summer in Greenland, we're going to have the very first female prime minister of Greenland as one of our guest experts on board. So the level of immersion and education and adventure and activity that you're getting is top notch. But then when you get back on board, you really feel like you're on a 5-star floating boutique hotel.
Absolutely.
Even though these are very serious, purpose-built, polar vessels. Every luxury amenity you could possibly want, from full service spa to heated infinity pool to an electric fireplace that crackles in your stateroom. It's just
I do remember that. I was on one of your ships. Yeah,
with like the designs of the vessels, especially the interiors, are flawless. And it really does make you feel at home. Like I like to say, you feel like you're allowed to sit on the couch, but it's just such a comfortable experience, but still having all these amazing amenities in some of the farthest reaches of the world. And it really goes hand in hand with what our tagline is: see what others don't. We're really building a brand around see what others don't. There's a handful of places, about 8 or 9 places, where we're the first ship to ever visit these places like Gabon, or places like the Alobros archipelago off the coast of Brazil. So that's kind of what we're building our story around, and it's going really well. Our guests so far have given us a 4.6 out of 5 on Cruise Critic.
Fantastic. And for my next question, actually, I want to drill down a little bit about the destinations. Let's start with you, Michael.
Sure.
Where does HX go these days? I mean, we know you go to Antarctica, we know you go to the Arctic, but and you also have a variety of different kinds of cruises in both of those places, but where else do you go?
Yeah, the Antarctic and the Arctic, those are staples for pretty much every expedition line, and it's our number one destination is Antarctica. I'm sure my colleagues would say the same. It's very, very popular right now, and only getting more popular. But we're in different areas, so we're all over Alaska. We're in the Northwest Passage. That's one of our very popular cruises. Lately, Greenland has been in the news, maybe not for all the right reasons, but it's one of
I
our.
thought we were getting that one of these days. That was my impression.
Yeah, we may not have to have a passport anymore. We'll see. But we have Greenland, which is just really we're looking, the amount of numbers we're having in Greenland, it's really on. I think we're going to think of it as the Antarctic of the North, going forward. And we really we're the only expedition line now to have a charter flight actually from Newark. We have a brand new program, Newark directly into Nuuk. So it's a 4-hour flight. It's wonderful.
Newark to Nuuk, that has a ring to it. I guess.
It does. It does. It kind of rolls off the tongue. But we're all over Svalbard. We're also in Norway too, just like our former sister company does. But we're there for a limited time just to see the Northern Lights. We're in Iceland. We're in Europe, different places in Europe. We're in the British Isles, which is another incredible place for expedition cruising. We're in the Caribbean and Central America a little bit. Galapagos, which is our number 2 destination. We have that beautiful ship there. Incredible area. Iceland, South America, and the Patagonia region, which is another both warm and cold water destinations, which segue perfectly going into Antarctica. And so those are the 12 different areas that we're into now. We're looking at some others I can't talk about right now, but we're excited to hopefully get there someday. But those are the different areas that we're into.
Fantastic. And I'm going to turn to you, Kelly, and you started to tell us a little bit about some of the more exotic destinations beyond Antarctica and the Arctic, but talk about where you go, where Swan Hellenic goes.
Yeah, I mean, we basically two big world repositioning sailings from Antarctica to the Arctic. So it's all one-off, back-to-back unique segments. You could basically build a pull-to-pull expedition with Swan Hellenic. So on one side, we're going up the entire west coast of South America through the Chilean fjords, along the Atacama Desert in Peru, Colombia, through the Panama Canal, touching some of Belize and even some of the really tiny islands of the Bahamas. And then at the other time, the other ship is going up the west coast of Africa. We actually do a 20-night crossing from Ushuaia to Cape Town and then go up the entire west coast. This is really an area where we're differentiating ourselves. We have one sailing that's going from Luanda, Angola to Accra, Ghana. This is probably our most wild itinerary. I mean, there's a 700-mile stretch of the longest stretch of completely undeveloped coastline on the entire continent of Africa that we're sailing along. You could potentially see wild elephants running on a beach in these parts of Africa, but it really is about exploring the diversity of the people and the culture. We're doing, of course, parts of Europe and like the British Isles and the Scottish Highlands and the Norwegian fjords. And we're actually going to come back down West Africa in 2026 so that we can offer 2 runs because we're having a lot of success in this area. It really is the final frontier. Like, where do you go once you've been to Antarctica? Go West Africa.
Okay. Well, I thought exactly, but
yeah, and then coming back down South America to get back to Ushuaia, I think there's some incredible itineraries. One going from Barbados to Trinidad to Guyana, French Guiana, Suriname, into the Amazon a bit, and then doing that whole exotic, lush tropical coast of Brazil, places like Itacaré, Trancoso. These are just incredible beaches. Like, this is my type of beach vacation, totally off the beaten path.
No, those are amazing destinations. I know you, and when I first heard about Swan Hellenic, I was impressed by these Africa cruises you have, and I don't know very many cruise lines that do them. Let's turn to you, Kris, in terms of where you go as a company, and also you do some kind of different kind of Antarctica cruises too, right? Because you're going out of Australia to Antarctica sometimes, or New Zealand or whatever.
Exactly right, James. Yeah, in addition to those traditional, trips that leave from Ushuaia, we also do the fly sail voyages out of Punta Arenas as well. But with our newest ship, the Douglas Mawson, coming out soon, we will be departing from Australia, going down into the East Antarctica and sub-Antarctic islands. And this is just truly exciting. We find, typically people think, oh, well, once you've been to Antarctic, where else can you go? You'd be amazed at how many people want to see more of Antarctica and see something different. And so by calling on this different region of Antarctica, there's just truly new and exciting wildlife and different things to take in, where we'll be, visiting Mawson's hut. Douglas Mawson was a famous explorer right along with the likes of Ernest Shackleton. So we're very excited to be offering some truly unique, very different Antarctic experiences. And much like my counterparts, right? We're all over, the Chilean fjords, we're Patagonia, the Georgia and South Falkland Islands. We're up in northern Scotland, British Isles, all those fun places, Costa Rica. But in addition, something new for us also that's very exciting is starting in 2026 on our new ship, the Douglas Mawson, we'll be doing some small ship cruises in the Mediterranean. So something a little bit different for our guests to experience. Again, more rooted around discovery versus your traditional kind of cruise experience, because that's not who Aurora is.
Right.
But very excited to be offering some unique itineraries in the Med. And then in addition to that, we're super excited about this, and I kind of saved the best for last, but we'll be calling on Indonesia and Borneo, Raja Ampat, right? We'll be doing the Wake of Wallace, where you can swim with the whale sharks. So, doing some really unique, iconic experiences for our guests. So, and something else that we do that I think is a little unique as well is we do some theme type voyages, right? So, we're doing an eclipse voyage. We're doing the first ever women's only expedition voyage, which I am so excited about. We'll have a female NASA astronaut.
I guess I can't go on that one, right?
Not for you this time, James. Not for you. Right? But, just so exciting to be able to offer these different unique types of voyages. New Scientist, which is the world's most popular science and technology publication, they're doing a variety of voyages with us. So, just doing some really unique things for our guests to give them different types of experiences while they're on board as well.
Fantastic. And I'm going to turn to you, Kelly. I'm going to combine the next few questions. Why do you think expedition cruising has really literally exploded in the past 5 years? It feels like COVID was a long time ago, but it's only 5 years. And then why has as expedition cruising has evolved, why has it become evolved as a luxury product? So those two questions combined, if you could.
Yeah, at all of the luxury focused conferences that I've been at in the last several years, the trends that have been emerging from the luxury segment is that luxury travelers are looking for emerging destinations, longer journeys, sustainability, wellness, and unique experiences. And Expedition ticks every single one of those boxes. Every single one. It is such an authentic way to travel, to see the world from a completely different lens. And this is what people are looking for, to do things that not everyone else is doing, because as the world becomes more and more accessible, places are getting busy, places that everyone else is going, and people just are craving something unique. Right. And I think that's what Expedition delivers. And then as Expedition has grown, and as we also understand the luxury traveler more and more, it has evolved. Because 20 years ago, what was expedition travel looking like? Traveling on like a rough and tough like research vessel,
It's a research vessel. It's a research vessel.
And travelers want the best of both worlds. They want adventure and they want luxury. And so often in the past, like adventure meant like roughing it. And as we have evolved, we're building these incredibly new expedition vessels that feel like a 5-star boutique hotel inside, that have all the comforts away that you want from a luxury cruise, but on a very hardcore purpose-built ice class vessel on the outside, so that we can take you to the most spectacular faraway places from home, and you don't have to sacrifice on what you want also out of a vacation.
Absolutely. And who likes to sacrifice? Now, Kris, let's talk about the same question. Why has, and your company really has in the last 5 years too, it's grown, and it's become, expedition cruising has really become a major category, and also specifically luxury. Why is that?
Yeah, I think Kelly said it perfectly, right? People just don't want to compromise anymore. And if you don't have to, why would you, right? We all want to have these immersive, adventurous, active experiences, but at the same time, we want to be a little pampered, right? Who doesn't want good service and good food and, nice, beautiful accommodations? So I think it's almost just kind of become the rite of passage, when you are, expending, let's face it, these trips aren't cheap, right? So yeah, there is an expectation to have that experiential experience, but also to have the accoutrements of a more luxury, type of feeling on board, right? Who wants to make that sacrifice? So I think it's just more about, gosh, let's deliver an amazing experience all the way around. People don't have to, shouldn't have to make that sacrifice. And that's what I love about Aurora is that's definitely not the case, right? And listen, at Aurora, there are definitely some other experiences out there that are definitely more rooted on the luxury side, right? You've got all those true luxury, right? Your butlers, your go flexing your food, a little bit more of a refined experience. So what I love about our world of expedition is that there really is something for everybody, right? For those guests that want to have that true, luxury experience, they can have that. For the guests that want to have that active, immersive experience, they don't have to compromise a lot of that. Yeah, you may not have a butler, you may not have gold flecks in your food, but you're going to have that great service, that great food. At Aurora, we like to say, what's more important to you, the wildlife or the wine list? Ask that question, right?
Do I have to compromise?
Yeah, exactly, right? So, and I think Michael said it earlier too, right? What is luxury, right? And luxury is something different to everybody. So at the same time, my idea of luxury may be to see as many penguins and whales and hike every day, all day, as much as I possibly can when I'm on land. Whereas somebody else's definition might be, oh, I love sitting on my balcony watching, right? So it's different for everybody. And that's what I love about how our expedition industry has evolved, because there really is something for everybody. And it's important for our advisors to understand that, to ask the right questions and qualify their clients, right? Because somebody like Aurora is very different and unique in that we offer a lot of different types of activities that few others offer in these regions, right? On Aurora, you can scuba dive, you can snorkel, you can kayak, which I know Alan did the snorkeling, I believe,
Yeah,
with
no,
us,
my
right?
partner Alan did it. Yeah, he had and
Yeah.
he did the snorkeling too. I was like, you're very brave.
Yeah, right. So you can have these amazing experiences. You can snowboard and ski and, and do all these camp on a glacier. So it's important for the advisors to do some education to understand what the best fit is for their client, because we all have something to offer them. And that's what's so exciting.
Absolutely. Well, the year that I went on 3 Antarctic cruises in one year, people said, "Well, why did you go?" I said, "Well, it was a dating service. I'm dating a penguin." It,
Well, it
we
had to
don't,
be
we,
the same penguin,
well,
because
that's it. That
penguins
was the
mate for
purpose.
life.
They couldn't stray, So we just couldn't figure. It didn't work out though, because either she had to come up to the Bronx Zoo or I'd have to go down there, and we couldn't figure it out. It was incompatible in the end. Sort of species incompatible too, but that's another story. But anyway, that's why usually my joke, like, why did I go 3 times? And well, the answer was amazing, and I had the opportunity.
Yeah.
And it is luxury. And Michael, I'm going to give you a chance to close it out in terms of why the explosion in and you've built ships during this, as you were saying, during the COVID period.
Yeah.
And why is it veered into luxury as opposed to, this event, what do you call it? Like an expedition ship that was very rudimentary.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Years ago, you'd have to take a Russian trawler to go to
That's
some of the
right.
places that we're going to now. So it's a far cry from that. But I'm going to take a little bit different spin on it than my two comrades have. And for those people who understand the cruise history back in the day, so if you look at cruising and the cruise market overall, really cruising in the 70s and 80s, that ocean cruise concept really hit and became really mainstream in the late 70s, early 80s. I know because I was working on ships then. And then you go into the 90s when ocean cruising really evolved. And about the mid 90s to late 90s, we had this concept called river cruising that came up, forefront. And I know that because the last 15 years before I came over here, I was in the river cruise marketplace. So I worked for several different river cruise operators. And then fast forward, if you look at who was cruising then, in the 70s and 80s, a lot of it was the greatest generation, but they're pretty much gone now. And then you have all these boomers that really fulfilled a lot of the ocean cruising and the river cruise marketplace. As they age, they get to a point where they've done luxury, they've done river, they've done ocean. Now they're saying, gosh, we really want to go see Borneo. We really want to go see Galapagos. These bucket list places that all of us go to. And that's why I think you're seeing this huge explosion. 89 million boomers are saying, gosh, we want to tick off that bucket list trip. And that's why you have this explosion of expedition cruise companies. Like you said, 5 to 10 years ago, there were 4 or 5 of us doing Antarctica at any regular intervals. The last count, there were 23 plus companies doing Antarctica now.
That's amazing.
So it's amazing. It's really, really, and is that good or bad? That's a question for a different day. But as far as how it evolved, that's where I'm trying to lead to, that it's really kind of a maturing of the cruise marketplace. And yeah, we want people to come in and cruise on those big giant ships because at some point they're going to end up on ours. It's eventually. And as Kris eloquently said, the whole cruise marketplace, when you start looking at luxury, it is, we are not white glove butler type service. There are companies that do that even in our space here,
Sure.
but that's just not us. We had one of our people went on a test cruise, incognito, so to speak, and they were doing caviar and butler service on the ice in Antarctica.
Oh yeah.
That's just not us. We're doing hot chocolate and schnapps, so there's a big difference there. And we're just not that type of company. We are all relaxed, all casual. And so when you start defining luxury, it really is ad infinitum, different definitions of luxury and what luxury is to that person. And to my colleague's point, we can be on the continent in Antarctica and seeing different species of penguin. To that person, that's luxury. They've read
Absolutely.
about this all their life. Oh my gosh, it's just, and there, someone once said, and I totally agree, if you can describe Antarctica, you haven't been there
Wow.
because it's just that
That's right.
life changing.
Every,
So
every time is different. And
it
that-
is. Every time is different. And so, yeah, I would say that the market has matured. We're seeing this explosion. We're really where river cruising was 15 years ago. We go to advisor's office and people, I talk to them all the time. I was just doing the big show and you see people going, oh gosh, I'm just not fit enough to do an expedition cruise. And you go, what? What are you talking?
Yeah.
The misperception of our industry is probably one of the biggest things we have to tackle next. But as far as an incredible experience on any one of our products, they're going to get that. They just don't know it yet. So but we all offer a luxurious experience in different ways. And on these beautiful, beautiful ships and these incredible destinations, why stay home?
Absolutely. Well, in regard to your butler comment, I was on one of those ships that had a butler.
Yeah.
I love the idea, but I don't know what to do with my butler.
Yeah.
What do you do? They said they want
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
pack and unpack. Well, I'm an
I
honest.
can do that myself.
Exactly. They were good at restaurant reservations and they were nice to talk to every day. So that was fine. So that was like
Yeah.
a comforting access. Now, we talked about luxury and let's talk about the actual, the accommodations and the dining on board. We've alluded to that. Kris, I want to start with you. What do you get on board Aurora that makes it luxury? That the accommodations you're in, the staterooms, and the dining options.
Yeah, thanks, James. So yeah, the accommodations on board are absolutely beautiful. I've been blessed to be in this industry, rooted on the luxury side of cruise
Right.
for almost 15 years. So I know luxury, and I've been on many of the vessels out there in the luxury cruise segment. And I will tell you that the staterooms on board Aurora are second to none. They are absolutely beautifully appointed. Tons of spacious, room for all your gear and things. 85% of our ships are balconies. We talked about those heated floors. So the ships are the staterooms are beautifully appointed. And we have an array of different categories. We also on our new ship have dedicated solo staterooms. The solo traveler is a huge market for us. And so we've got some dedicated solo staterooms as well. When we start to look at the onboard and what we offer, absolutely beautiful dining room. We have a specialty restaurant. You don't need a reservation, so you don't really need that butler to make that reservation because you can just pop in there and have a delightful meal for a little bit of variety, something different. It's a steakhouse in the evening, and then it's open also for breakfast and lunch again to offer just more variety for our guests. And then we've got sauna on board. We have a swimming pool on our Sylvia Earle and Douglas Mawson ships. So all those things that you would expect to have on a vessel. We have a gorgeous observation lounge on our ship, so you've got this a place to go to have those spectacular views. And we also have a citizen science center on board all of our ships. And this is really exciting because I think Kelly mentioned the citizen science program, and part of who we are and part of our experience is educating our guests through learning, right? So our guests can go and have these experiences with the citizen science program and then come back to the science center and learn about the things that we saw that day or the things that we will see. So having this beautiful area to just go and learn as well. We've got a huge lecture space, kind of a theater with huge flat screen TVs throughout the entire space, so our guests all have a bird's eye view of what we're talking about. And so the ships are they're delightful. They're absolutely stunningly beautiful. And I think Michael touched on this too. While we've got these beautiful ships and amazing cuisine, the food is fabulous, absolutely delightful. I was blown away. I have very high expectations when I think luxury. And so on my first trip to Antarctica, I was absolutely blown away by what we offer, the freshness of what we offer throughout the entire journey, and the variety and the creativity as well. So
You're not going to go hungry, right?
No, you're not going to go hungry. And it's funny.
We're not
Before
going
I
to
went
be
on my first,
eating a whale blubber and whatever else.
yeah,
You're not allowed,
yeah.
actually. I don't think that's what would be.
No, 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 no. Right. So just a beautiful experience, and the ships are gorgeous. And on Aurora, it is a relaxed experience. So you are going to that beautiful dining room and having this delightful meal, and you're in your jeans and your fleece, and my UGG boots, right? Like I was like dancing to the dining room every night. Like, is this real? I can really show up like this and not, get the,
It
you
is,
know,
it is more casual atmosphere,
it's
definitely.
yeah. So and we're Australians, so we like to have a lot of fun on board
I
too.
know
So there's that.
it's always a good time with Australians on board, I tell you. Kelly, talk a little bit about the accommodations you offer and the dining. And I have been lucky enough to experience one of your ships a while back, one of the first ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our ships are brand new, so they're gorgeous. That's the thing about Swan Hellenic is the ships are just as remarkable as the expedition operations. The software and the service and the food is just as remarkable as the expedition operations. So I think that's where we really excel. The inventory we have 80% is balconies. So it's amazing to step out on a balcony in Robe in Antarctica to see whales like literally just feet below you off your balcony.
Yeah.
Well, some of the unique things about our accommodations is we actually can accommodate up to 4 people in a number of our staterooms. So that's great for friends traveling together or families. And we even have some connecting suites, which is pretty rare in expedition. We have 2 premium suites on board that are just gorgeous, 528 square feet with a walk-in rain shower, bathtub, walk-in closet, like king size bed, terrace balcony, and a big electric fireplace that is basically the divider between the sleeping space and the sitting area.
Mhm.
So this is like the way to go. The
Absolutely.
rooms are gorgeous all around the fireplaces that I mentioned. It's all storage cabinets. We have more storage than you could possibly ever use. Like I am always afraid that I have hid my things too good on one of our sailings. I have to make sure I'm not leaving anything behind. We have incredible amenities on board for you, from a library to the sauna is ginormous with huge panoramic windows, so you can never miss a whale sighting even from inside the sauna. um, Again, the food, I think one of our biggest points of pride is we make everything from scratch down to the salad dressing and soup, which is not always the case, but we're getting such high remarks on our culinary programs. We even have actually some culinary sailings in partnership with a European group of chefs called Jeunesse Restaurateur, which is a group of 375 of the youngest up and coming talented chefs in Europe. And between them, they have 180 Michelin stars. So we actually have 9 sailings
Okay.
this summer with guest chefs from JRE on board that do one big gala night dinner and a feature dish on the menu every night, and cooking demonstrations and cooking on board the vessels, which is amazing.
So again, we won't go hungry on your trips as well. That sounds like
Exactly.
sounds great. And
Exactly.
I'll let Michael, let you close out this because you started talking about accommodations and dining. Tell us what you get on your HX ships.
Absolutely. So as we speak, we are actually the livery on all the ships has changed,
Hmm.
and
Oh
that's the
yeah, you got to do
colors.
the HX thing now,
We
right?
have, well, the HX has already been done, but
Okay.
we're changing our corporate colors, which you can see the picture behind me. That's the non-Senate. She has the red and black, which is the Hurtigruten colors.
Right.
We are now changing. Our new hull is going to be indigo blue,
Okay.
and then the red is going to be replaced by a beautiful sand color, not tan, but sand. So, and the ships, they've all 4 have already been done. They just have been floated out. The 2 smaller ships in the 200 passenger range have totally been refurbished to look more like all the look and feel of our 2 hybrid electric vessels, the world's first. That's the Nansen and the Amundsen. So they have just been completed, and then our smallest ship in Galapagos will be completed the end of this month into May, with having her livery changed. But as far as the food goes, it's just like my compadres here. It's I don't say I haven't been on a single, well, I can't say all that, but most in our space, the food is really, really good.
Right, right.
It's just, and that goes without saying. But we have up to 3 restaurants on our vessels because our ships are slightly larger, so we can afford to have one. You know, we have Aune, which is our main restaurant, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then we have my favorite, Friedheim, which that has all the comfort food. So it's
Right.
the burgers and the dogs and the tacos and burritos and Asian buns and dumplings, and I'm getting hungry already. So
It is
it's and then
lunchtime for me.
great milkshakes too, great milkshakes. And then we have our high-end restaurant Lindstrom, which is complimentary to all of our suite guests.
Mhm.
And there's a slight upcharge for anybody else who wants to dine there. But it's just really incredible, incredible food all across the fleet when we have that. Accommodation-wise, we have some beautiful staterooms, all the way from our ocean view rooms to our balcony staterooms to our suites. And we have suites 600 to 800 square feet, just gorgeous suites. Many of them have hot tubs on the deck, fireplaces inside. So I think the hardware is, comparable to all the different companies in this space because we all have just some beautiful, beautiful hardware and how we run our onboard functions. It is really, really something to see. We have, in fact, all the spaces, the public spaces. One thing that we're very, very proud of is that we have the largest science centers at sea of any of the expedition companies, and that's just where we shine. I think all of our guests want to learn about the destinations that they're traveling in, but we have 15 to 20 expedition team members on all of our cruises, and they could be zoologists, ornithologists, no matter depending on what science that we're looking for. They just have these wonderful, wonderful science centers that they really bring to life because they run our entire shore excursion program. They run all the science program, our citizen science projects, which we belong to about 20 different organizations where we're constantly doing research and uploading all that information to these wonderful organizations. And yes, our guests can be geeks for the day. If they want to be a science geek, they can go out on the science boat. They can do anything with the
Right.
scientist on board. It's truly remarkable. So some really great things that we do on board and or if someone just wants to relax in the lounge and listen to the piano, we have that too over a nice cocktail. So some really nice accoutrement on board all of our vessels throughout the fleet.
Fantastic. Now, I want to stick with you because I want to
Yeah.
briefly talk about the importance of the expedition team. We've alluded to them before, but I think that's what also makes a huge difference in all of your lines. But Michael, you start off and talk about the expedition team.
Yeah, so I kind of alluded to on the previous question, but our expedition team they really set the tone for the cruise. And if you don't have a great expedition team or a great EL expedition leader, you're not going to have a good experience. And that's our guests. I'm speaking from HX, like I said, they've done pretty much everything before. Now they're coming to us to learn about where they're cruising to.
Right.
So that's what we bring to life. Everything from looking at microscopes to going out on the science boat, like I said, doing science projects on board. And they're very, very hospitable. And all the lectures they do, they break things down so they're not so sciency. So because you can get really in the weeds on a lot
Oh,
of this
sure.
stuff. But with our people, they understand our guests. They know that they're maybe slightly older, maybe not so much science in the background. So they really bring things to life and put it in a position where, oh my gosh, I didn't know the sea levels were rising this much, or I didn't know the plankton were having this issue, or I didn't know whales had stopped migrating here. There's just so much to go, and when people start getting involved in it, they really become obsessed. In fact, I spoke when I was in the Arctic and we were talking with some people. They said, "Oh, I don't want to do these lectures. I'm just here. I just want to see and get off and do things." Well, they went to one lecture, and pretty soon the husband was the one. He was the negative guy,
Yeah.
and he wouldn't miss a single one. He was
I
hooked
know.
from the first one.
You get
I mean,
hooked.
they get you hooked, and there's difference of opinions on everything, so we try to balance that whole right being right in the middle. But we're stewards of this planet, and we with HX we're very, very big on sustainability, and we are primary source of that is, we, even from our indigenous peoples that we work with all the time, we go in these communities and it's not, hey, what can you do for us? It's like our first question is, what can we do for you? How
Right.
can we make your life easier? And how can we have less of an impact? Because at the end of the day, we want our guests really to take with them memories, and we don't want to leave footprints. We want to go in there and do these beach cleans. We want to help beautify their environment. So future generations can come back and visit all these pristine places. And that's what our expedition team strives to make and the forefront of all of the expeditions we run.
Okay, and Kelly, I want to ask you the same question. The expedition team really is, if you don't go on thinking they're important, you're going to miss a great part of that cruise. And as Michael just said, you'll get converted pretty quickly about
Yeah.
to understand the science of it, right? So how does the expedition team really make this cruise?
The way I look at the expedition team is they really bring these places to life. Like out in the field, they're giving you the live play-by-play. Like when I was in Antarctica, I was getting to walk up the one of the mountains at Des Moines Point through penguins with our ornithologist, telling me, like, side by side with an
Right.
ornithologist who's telling me all about the penguin mating cycles and where they're at right now in the season. Like, you just can't, like, that is an incredible experience. Like, you don't get that in other travel styles. And then to come back on board and to have a beer at the bar with the same person and get to hear what other stories he has about what penguin encounters he's had in his lifetime. Like, it just adds such a richness to the entire experience, and they become such an important part of the whole onboard family. Like, to go have a dinner with them in the main dining room at the end of the day and share stories and get to hear, because you will not meet anyone more passionate than an expedition guide.
And I would
like,
do make the appointment to have dinner with these people.
yes, invite them.
Yeah.
They have incredible stories and experiences to share with you. So I think that they are one of the most integral parts to an expedition. But also at Swan Hellenic, one of the big things that is really important to us is making sure that our expedition team is empowered to make magic happen in the unexpected moments, because that is part of an expedition. Is like, an itinerary is a suggestion. Our expedition team is really empowered to do what's best to give the guests the best experience, and that all falls into, like, who is on your expedition team.
Right.
Some ships, I think, have more flexibility than others. Like, one of the examples, I've heard incredible stories about what our team has done on board, but we were actually getting ready to sail back across the Drake to head home. And in the middle of the day, the Drake, the expedition team and the captain decided we're going to slam on the brakes because the ship was surrounded by 100 orcas. And we sat there for 2 hours. The Coast Guard actually called because they're like, why are you sitting in the middle of the Drake Passage?
Not usually the place you want to be,
like,
except
other
it is the Drake Lake. It is the Drake Lake.
Depending on who's in charge, other ships might not have made that stop to create that moment for our guests, which is what they are literally crying off their balconies, like, because there's 100 orcas surrounding the vessel. Like, that is the power of what an expedition team can do to help create those moments.
Absolutely. And Kris, I'm going to close it out with you because you came from more traditional ocean cruising on the luxury side. When you first encountered your first expedition team, what did you think? What was the experience you got?
Yeah, blown away by the dedication and the passion that the team has, right? They live this. This is something that's in their blood, right? This is what they live to do. And they live to share their knowledge and to teach, right? Through their stories and through their experiences. So just absolutely blown away by the depth of knowledge that they all have, each in their own right? They're all theologists, like Michael said. But the fact that they love what they do, and our team loves connecting with our guests. So our expedition team at Aurora is truly a part of the experience, right? They're your Zodiac drivers. They are the ones that you're out hiking with, right? And they're the ones that you're hanging out. They'll have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They'll come in and just sit at your table and you just learn so much from them. And, at the end of our voyages, it's all hugs and tears with our expedition team, with our guests, right? And I think that's where you kind of start to separate the experiences, right? We actually have the highest expedition to passenger ratio, right? For every 7 guests, we have 1 expedition leader, right? So they're such a part of the experience, and you really get to know them. And, something about Aurora that just truly endears me to this brand, James, to your point, being rooted in this industry is our purpose. Aurora was founded on the premise of our founder, Greg Mortimer, bringing people down into first Antarctica to just organically show them how fragile and beautiful our planet is. And like Michael said, right, and what ends up happening is we end up creating lifelong ambassadors of the planet through what our expedition team teaches them and what you learn, right? All the things that Michael shared around phytoplankton and krill and the whale migration. You go down there thinking you don't care, and you come back changed, right? Like, I'm going to give you one of my own experiences, right? You asked me for some personal experiences. When I came back from my first trip, I learned about krill and over farming for krill. That's a major food source for the whale population, right? And if you deplete krill, which is used in so many of our products, you start to harm the whale population, right? Right. So, I came back and I learned, well, krill is in all kinds of skincare products, right? And, listen, I'll do anything to look 20 years younger, right? Like, sorry, but full transparency, right? And now I look at the ingredients and I'm like, oh no, there better not be krill in here, because I'll have nothing, I won't have anything to do with it. So that's a funny example, but it's true, right? And that's how you change, and that's how you come back. You come back different. You want to learn. You want to care more for the planet. And so, that's our why. And I think all of us, right? You come back so different and understanding so much more. It goes way beyond the beauty.
Absolutely.
Right?
And the best part of it is there are no exams afterwards. So you don't have
to.
I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to remember all this. And I said, no, I don't really, but I want to.
Exactly. That's the difference.
I want to. All right. So I'm going to, we got to, we could talk forever on this. I love expedition cruising. I love all your products. Let's go combine the last question. First of all, what training and education programs for travel advisors do you have about your products? And then give us the point of contact, the URL, where they can find out more information. I'm going to start with you, Kelly. What kind of training and education do you have for advisors, and where can they go to find out more about your product?
So your account managers, myself, I'm based in West Palm Beach, Florida, covering Director of National Accounts and also the East Coast, and my colleague Eric Bacon, who's in Los Angeles, covering the West Coast and Canada. We are your biggest resources. We don't have a formal training program yet, although it is in the pipeline. We're still kind of building these types of resources out. So it is exciting, and we're getting there. So we are your biggest resources. We're happy to do a webinar for agency. We have tons of recorded webinars for different destinations that we've done that we can also send you. Of course, swanhellenic.com is your best friend, but we do also have a closed Facebook group for our travel partners that you can join to stay up to date on all the latest promotions and spotlights on itineraries and video content. It's just Swan Hellenic North America Travel Advisors.
Okay.
And then the last thing I'll tell you that is a wonderful resource is we are partnered with approach guides. So if you want to start marketing Swan Hellenic, this is like a no-brainer. You just upload your logo. It's a co-branded marketing tool, and you can start to share co-branded content that generates leads back to you. Like, you don't have to have some crazy, intricate marketing plan to start marketing expedition. You can literally start in 5 minutes.
No, fantastic. My friend Jennifer from Approach Guides will like that
Yes.
endorsement. That's for sure. Kris, same question. Any training and education you have for travel advisors, and where can advisors go to learn more?
Yeah, sure. And on the coattails of Kelly, we too work with approach guides. They're amazing. It's just a seamless way to really market our itineraries as well. So I'm glad you brought that up, Kelly. Yeah, so I've actually been very fortunate to really grow my team here at Aurora Expeditions. So I have a team of 8 sales directors throughout the US and Canada who are all very excited and waiting for our travel partners to reach out so that they can show them and teach them more about Aurora Expeditions. So while we don't have it on online training course yet. We're working towards that. But let me tell you, my team is hungry and excited, to do everything they can to help share more about some of the value proposition around Aurora and why that might be great for their clients. But in addition to that, we have a terrific travel advisor hub, and it's super easy to access. All you need to do is go to our actual website. It's aurora-expeditions.com. There's a tab at the top for travel advisors. Click on that tab. Scroll down to the bottom. You'll see the Americas. You don't need a password. You don't need any entry to get in there. And then that's where you can access all of our images, all of our recorded webinars. Everything you need to know about Aurora is in there. We've got a handy dandy voyage calendar as well, so you can kind of see our itinerary offerings in a quick and simple way. But that's the easiest place for our advisors to really go, and that's also where they can go to find who their area sales director is and how to contact them. So we try to make it easy for everybody. We're super excited to spread the word about Aurora. So yeah.
Aurora and expedition cruises in general. It's just such a growing category. And Michael, we'll close it out with you.
Sure.
Any training and education that you have, and where can advisors go to find out more about? And you've kind of probably had to revise all your websites since now you have the new name and all that, because I know you've done some of that. So tell us, first of all, what is the website now?
So the website is www.travelhx.com.
Okay.
So that's where you can get all this information. And yes, we do have a wonderful travel agent resource and training program, etc., at our agent portal, which is at agentportal.travelhx.com. So just go to our website. You can scroll down where it says travel agents, log on, you can get there. And like my comrades here, to round out the top three, or the trifecta anyway, yes, we're also on approach guides too. So we've got Jennifer was very busy. She's been very busy.
I'm gonna have to tell her to watch this panel.
Yeah, she's a wonderful lady. So we love her, and we love approach guides are very, 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 very good. And yeah, there's lots of information on our website. We've got, and like to your point, we've had to scrub it. It's a new website, new stuff. So we're still got a little bit of tweaking, but it's all there, and we're just anxious and ready to have lots of clients come and experience expedition cruising. And I will say one thing, and this is, I don't believe you win a race by tripping your opponent. So this has nothing to do with anybody on this panel here, but I think it incorporates all of us because we're in that true expedition space, right? And so oftentimes I ask agents, would you rather sell an expedition cruise from a true expedition company who that's all we do, versus buying an expedition cruise or selling it from a company that happens to do just expedition cruising, even though they sell ocean cruising? So there's a big difference between us and everybody else. And I think my colleagues would agree that, we this is our heart and soul. This is what we do day in and day out for sometimes 30, 100 plus, how many years. And we know what we're doing. We know how to give your clients an exceptional experience. So come and try us. Your clients will never say they had a horrible time, because they're going to come back going, where can I go next? Where can I go next? That's
I didn't see any penguins. This is
yeah, exactly.
That's not going to happen. Well,
Yeah.
I want to thank all three of you. It's been a great discussion, and we could go on for quite some time. I'm getting excited. I haven't been on an expedition cruise in 2 years. I got another one. I don't know. I did 3 in Antarctica. I thought, all right, that's enough for a while. And I did 1 to the Arctic, and I did 1 up in Norway. And now I'm getting excited about it again. You guys got me excited about it again. And hopefully sometime next year, I'll do that. So again, I want to thank you, all three of you. And also, at this point, if you've been watching us here, now you can go down to the virtual trade show floor, and each of one of these companies has a booth down there, and you can get all the information they've been talking about right there at the booth. Again, thank you so much for taking the time on this panel.
Thank you.
James.
Thanks.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Virtual Roadshows Selling Luxury and Insider Travel Report.